Well, I don't know about you, but I think it's often very, very difficult indeed to try and think of a really good Christmas present for grannies and granddads. But if you're stuck for a few ideas, why not have a go at this house? But there's more to it than meets the eye, because this smoke coming out of the chimney is in fact string, and the whole house is a string holder. Most ingenious, and more to it even than that, because in the little extension bit here there's a holder for rubber bands. And you can be as decorative as you like with these, and it would be nice to make it to look exactly or as close as possible to the house that your granny and granddad live in, if you're really adventurous. Well, if you'd like to have a go at making this house, then I'll show you what to do. And first of all, you need a cardboard box. Now this one is the sort that tissues come in, but any sort will do. And first of all, you need to mark all the way around your cardboard box at the height that you want the walls of your house to be. Now, as you can see with this sort of box, as you go round, because of that bit in the middle which you punch out to get your tissues out, you actually end up with a gap. But don't worry, because you can fill that in later. So you do that all the way round till the lines meet up again. Now, at the sides of the house, where the roof's going to be, they need to come up to a bit of a point. So if you mark about 3 centimetres up and draw a line across, and when you've done that, then find the centre point of your line, and this box measures about 7 centimetres, so that's 3.5, and then join up the centre point of the line to the outer edges of the box. Do that on both sides, and then cut out the shape that you're left with, and you end up with that. Now you can either, as I said, you've got to fill in that middle bit where the tissue bit is punched out of. So if you fill that in with some cardboard and then use that centre section of the tissue box, which is the bit you actually punched out to fill in the hole, then it'll be one neat edge all the way along. Now you can either paint that or cover it with paper, and it's particularly effective to use this bumpy sort of wallpaper to cover it, because if you paint it, or even if you leave it unpainted, it looks especially like brick. You need a piece that's slightly larger than your box so that it overlaps. Glue it firmly into position, trim away the ends, and you're left with that. Now you can start to really decorate it. And for the door, you need 2 pieces of cardboard, one light and one dark, and put one over the other, so you've got this door sill all the way round. But if you're not as clever with your fingers as that, you could always just outline it in black felt pen. But don't forget to add a door knocker, and what about a letterbox as well? And then stick that onto your cottage. Put it slightly off centre, because that's often the way with those old cottages. And the windows are also made of card, and these ones have got those fancy lattice panes on, but you don't have to do that, you could just mark in squares. But do draw in curtains very lightly, because I think that looks very good. And again, stick that in slightly level with the top of the door, and a smaller one on the other side. And because you want your little house to look good from both sides, don't forget to add a back door as well. And it's a nice idea to make the back door look different from the front. This one's got one of those nice stable doors that you often find on those old cottages. And for that good measure, put in different coloured curtains as well on the back of the house, because it makes it look very individual. And you often find with these old cottages that they've got extensions on the side. This one's no exception, except that this one, of course, has got a roof that lifts off, and that's where you're going to keep the elastic bands. And it's been made from the bottom of an old toothpaste packet, which is just trimmed slightly at the edges to have a bit of a sloping roof. Cover that with either paper or paint to match your house, add a window, and stick it on the side. Now for the roof of your cottage, you're going to return to that cardboard box that you used to make the basic house. And you need to measure the depth of it, 7 centimetres, and then mark precisely that length along the other side. That's the way you get the slope of the roof. And then join up from the point that you've marked back down to the bottom of the box, same on the other side, and when you've cut it out, that's the shape that you get. You'll probably find at this stage that it's a tiny bit too large for your cottage, so you can just trim it away. And then you need to cover both ends, the pointed ends, with the same paper that you've used for your house. So once it's trimmed and decorated, it looks like that. Now for the roof itself, it's a good idea to use that corrugated sort of card, which is nice and bumpy. And you need a piece which is the same length as your house, and just slightly longer, so that you get eaves at the end. And then push the corrugated paper well down so that you get a tiled effect. And at this stage, punch a hole on one side with a bradawl or a knitting needle, making sure that you've got a firm surface underneath. That's not going through at all. That's it. And then to cover that up, you need a little chimney. And this one is made from a glue packet, or those very small toothpaste tubes often come in these packets. And as you can see, there's the hole, which is nicely concealed. And then paint the roof, and for a finishing touch, just mark in tiles with a pencil. And once that's in position, you can see it's beginning to look very good indeed. And the roof of the extension is made from a piece of cardboard, and it's got a matchstick along the bottom so that it doesn't slip off. And again, cover that in corrugated paper and paint it to match your house. And for a finishing touch, which is really good, you can make some little plants, and I wonder if you can guess what they're made from. They are, in fact, bits of sponge which you can trim off an old one, and they're painted with felt pen or with paints to look like plants. And you can really be creative here. An especially good idea is to use these little tiny beads stuck on, because as you can see, they look very like flowers, and you can put them outside your cottage wherever you want them to be. Now we can add the string, and that goes through that hole in the chimney, like so, and the string holder itself goes into the cottage. Put the roof snugly into position, add some elastic bands or perhaps paper clips in the extension. Now the other houses are made in exactly the same way, except this of course is a different sort of box, but again it's got the string on the inside. And this paper on the outside is the sort that you can buy in model shops for dolls' houses. As you can see, it looks like brickwork and saves you the trouble of ruling all those lines. And the windows have been made from those sticky labels, the sort that you can get in sets to put on prices on, which is most ingenious. And this little cottage has got the same sort of windows as well. And inside it, there's an extra bit which you could use for storing elastic bands or paper clips, or, as we've got in the extension here, those little plastic fasteners that come on the ends of packets of bread or tomatoes, and usually you throw them away, and at last you've got somewhere to store them. And the porch on the front of the house is made from a matchbox. No practical use, just looks very good. Well, I'm sure that if your granddad was keen on model railway layouts, he might like to have one of these as well, because the sort of houses that you buy for those are very, very expensive. But even if he's not, I'm sure that your granny or granddad would be delighted to unwrap one of these on Christmas Day. It's pretty and practical, and even better news, it's cheap.